It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear, no fear, no fear, no fear, no fear. You know, I've been so inspired, by having so many people in the streets up against, I don't know, is Mubarak not as bad as somebody? I mean, he's on the top of the heap, man. These guys are oppressed. And he said, no mas, or however you say it in Arabic. Now, I want to go ahead and finish a little bit on Suleiman because he has been predicted over 2 weeks ago in Zero Hedge. We had an article up on Freedom's Phoenix, and I read it with interest because these guys are economists. When you're dealing with the economies, you're looking at a lot of stuff. Politics has a lot to do with it. And a lot of people are so isolated in, the various different disciplines, they don't see how they react. That's why you have guys like Bernanke think they can turn dials. We turn this one dial here, interest, rate, and we're all good. We can control the economy. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Well, we need more tools. We need more control. We need more, things that we can do and tell people what, and they kind of, had a loophole, which means freedom over here, and they weren't allowed. So we need more tools, which means more regulation and more control. And they think that there's some finite number of tools you have to have in order to control the interactions between billions of people. It doesn't work. It can't principles control. Certain things like, I do good, I get, good karma. I do bad, you wind up with your head on a pike. These concepts are lost on them. They just look at it. Now, you get a number from a government agency, a bureaucrat, and they say the percentage of and the number is, you can guarantee, man, they got a program to change that number. Here it comes. Excuse me. Now, Suleiman, he was born in southern Egypt. He left. He went to Cairo in 1954 at the age of 19. He enrolled in the Egyptian Military Academy. Well, here you go. He received additional military training in the former Soviet Union at Moscow's Frunze Military Academy. Furthermore, he holds bachelor's and master's degrees in political science and at Cairo universities and in the mid-1980s. Then Suleiman was transferred to military intelligence, where he began what was to be a long relationship between Egypt and the United States. You might as well just say CIA. Now, he became director of military intelligence in Egypt in 1991. So this is almost 20 years of this guy. Suleiman became the chief of Egyptian intelligence in 1993. His name has become known only in the last few years, breaking the tradition of keeping the name of the Egyptian head of intelligence a secret known only to a top few government officials. Well, they kind of let that one out. It was released in the media around 2000. Suleiman has acquired a more public profile while trying to broker a deal between the different armed Palestinian groups vying for power in Gaza as the top presidential envoy from President Hosni Mubarak, as well as brokering deals or truces between the Palestinians and Israel. Now, a little bit needs to be said about that. This is where a lot of the people in the region know that he's toting the water for the CIA, and that means Israel. It's the same. So you have to go over a little bit more of the history here in this hour. You'll see that it is the same entities that are controlling the entire region, including Egypt. and a lot of times especially Egypt. His perceived role in negotiations between Palestinian groups gave him the image of an effective behind-the-scenes figure in the Egyptian government, as well as identifying him as potentially useful to foreign governments, such those of the Arab countries, Israel, Palestinians, and the United States. So this guy has been groomed to be our next boy. That, there's just no getting around it. Here's, CIA say, you the man. We love you long time. So for him to be made VP and then Mubarak to leave and him be in control, you're not any better off. Now, now they're going to direct from the United States. Now, you got to have open elections. You got to have some international observers, but don't worry about it. We'll bring in Diebold. We'll have computer whatever, and we'll have our boys. If they start talking about computer voting in Egypt, man, you can just kiss it all goodbye right there. If they do paper or purple finger or something like that, they might be a little bit better off. But one of the things that's unique, that's different about Egypt than is different, say Iraq, is one of the interesting things I saw between the urbanization of the population in Egypt versus the United States. So let's look at that. The urbanization of in cities in Egypt is 43%. Okay, I would have thought that it may have even been higher. Now in the United States, it's 82% of the population is urban. So that kind of surprised me. I would anticipate with the Nile there and a concentration next to in cities, there would have been a much higher percentage in the cities in Egypt. Now, of course, it is concentrated in the cities, but it's still a bit more diverse. We have 82% of our population is in urban area. I'm not sure how they define urban, but dang. Now, in the United States, they have a net immigration rate of 4.25 immigrants for every 1,000 people. So that's a pretty good number there. Now, let's take a look at Egypt. Egypt, let me get down to it here. Where to go? Their immigration rate is negative 0.21. Now, this is before all the ruckus started. If you're a foreigner, you're leaving Egypt, and you sure as heck are now. So the difference between Egypt and the United States is quite a bit, certainly by the age brackets, and there's a lot of reasons behind that, I'm sure. Now, there's a lot of leaders in here that goes, the Muhammad Ali dynasty and all of his kin that went on down from, and they were all European educated. They took on a lot. In fact, there was one that even had a style, named after him. It's, a lot of gilded furniture and, expensive tapestry, upholstery and all. And it's kind of, he created his own style of decadence, kind of like Napoleon did, which was his intent. He wanted it as, fouled or whatever, but it doesn't matter. What I want to get up to before we run out of time is the Cairo fire. Let me go ahead and give you what that's about. The Cairo fire, also known as Black Saturday, was a series of riots that took place on the 26th of January, 1952. Now, this is when they start getting into what they, consider the modern era of Egypt. Now, today, what is today's date? February 11th, 2011. Today is I think it's the 20th or the 25th anniversary. It's an anniversary of the overthrow in Iran. So what was that, 30 years probably? So you have the anniversary today of Mubarak leaving. I don't know if this was planned or they didn't care or they even knew about it, but this is the anniversary of the overthrow of the Shah. So I'm going, man, this can't be lost on these people. It's like saying April 19th, Militia Day, a Freedom Day, Shot Heard Around the World Day here in the United States. It's just like, it's cosmic, man, cosmic. But we'll get to more of this stuff. The Cairo fire is kind of equates to what's going on right now and get us through into the modern era. We'll be right back.